how do you feel the market is currently responding to the need for compute in the longer term?
Well, I think that a lot of the demand for compute in the future is already priced in. And what we're seeing in the short term is probably just general market fluctuations. But what I've been seeing with OpenAI's new image generation tools is that there's a lot more compute demand coming down the pipe.
I think that was where the tension lied for us, particularly on Friday when everyone's worried about too much exposure of a CoreWeave to a few key hyperscalers. But then Sam Altman of OpenAI is saying that his GPUs are melting because everyone is so keen to play with his updated model. So can you square that for us? How much will demand of generative AI ultimately push forward your business?
Yeah, so Sam's tweeting that they're seeing biblical demand for the image generation tools that they've launched recently. And a lot of the businesses that are publicly traded right now are being valued on a forward basis, which is to say that the projections that their management teams and everyone's been providing is how they're being valued. And so I think that there's a lot of, as they say, wood to chop to get to those run rates, which are the basis for the valuations. But these tools, it's a lot more than just anime image generation and memes.
It doesn't feel like that when you're actually on X at the moment, but there is more to it.
Right, and so the biggest leap here is that these are the first generation of models that are basically perfect text rendering fidelity.
Okay.
And so what you're going to start to see a lot more of is, instead of an AI-generated image being an embed inside of a presentation, you're going to start to see the entire presentation slide is generated by a neural network. And what that means is I think we're getting closer and closer and closer to the future where nearly every pixel you see on a computer screen is going to be rendered by a neural network.
Therefore, that just means compute goes up and to the right as it weaves into our enterprise life, into our personal life.
Every presentation, every piece of sales collateral, every advertisement, every video game, you're going to start to see more and more AI compute embedded in those things, which means that demand is going to continue to grow more than exponentially.
Have we got the infrastructure ready for that?
Everybody is working really hard in our industry to keep up with the ongoing demand, even with all of the high expectations and ambition that OpenAI has. Their servers are still on fire, and they still probably have underestimated the amount of demand that they are seeing now.
I mean, you're serving developers across the entire AI development cycle right now. What is it like at your business? So how are you managing to scale to meet that level of demand?
Yeah, I think that one way of looking at Lambda versus, let's say, CoreWeave has a lot of customer base in, for example, OpenAI. And what we're doing is servicing kind of everybody else. A lot of hyperscalers and over 150,000 individual developers use Lambda Cloud to train their models and inference their models. And what we're going to see, especially with these new advances in image generation, is that OpenAI is going to have their time in the spotlight, run away, continue to grow their market share, and then open source models are going to come in, and we're going to start to see a lot of that compute demand in clouds like the hyperscalers and Lambda.
Will that open source winning come from China? How much are we going to see it being US-made startup and AI models, or how much will this be a really global offering?
I think it's hard to predict. I think that my bet would be that we'll probably see a high-quality Chinese model first, and then the rest of the world will continue to publish theirs. I am generally bullish of open source internationally, whether it's in the United States, China, or elsewhere.
So for those who are currently aware of the hype cycle, seeing the valuations skyrocket and then come back down, and are still waiting for generative AI to affect their everyday working world, how soon will that come, do you think? How soon before every PowerPoint display we make is ultimately a neural network?
I think that what you're starting to see is that more and more of the productivity that you do is going to be coming from tools like ChatGPT. And so you might not actually end up seeing it embedded inside of PowerPoint, and it may actually just be, hey, please generate this presentation for me, here are the key talking points, and it perfectly renders a PDF for you at the end of it. I think that that's the big shift that's happening, is that neural networks are replacing more and more and more of the software that we use every day.